witchy tag that was started by Ashley at Ashley Adulting, and I will have a link to her channel below. And her friend, I think Julie or Julia is what she said, that they compiled a list of questions for the What's Your Craft tag. And I want to apologize for the glare on my glasses. I'm doing this on a laptop, and I need glasses to see. I need my eyes. Anyway, so the questions, there's about 30 questions altogether, and it's basically all about your craft. And I know the last time I did a witchy tag, there were 15 questions, and it took me 20 minutes. So I'm hoping it doesn't take that long, but I doubt it. So this is going to be a rather long video about my way through witchcraft and paganism. So I'm just going to dive right in. First question is, when or how did you first know you were a witch? I actually didn't start calling myself a witch until I was in my 20s, and I started in my teens. So it was probably 5 to 10 years after I started practicing before I even started calling myself a witch, before I even started saying I was practicing witchcraft. And even then I wasn't comfortable saying witch. And even now, it's usually just as a joke, but it's the best label that I can use to describe what I practice and what I believe in. Number 2, how long have you been practicing? I've been practicing since I was 14, and I am currently 32. So 18 years? Oh, wow, almost 20 years. I didn't realize that. So yeah, it's been 18 years. What kind of witch are you? Not very good one. No, I'm rather eclectic, and this is going to go with the next question. The next question is, what path tradition do you follow? Like I said, I'm very eclectic. I don't have one specific, like I always wanted to do herbalism and green witchery, but I kill everything I touch. And I named my daughters after flowers because that's the only garden that I can tend that I know that it's not going to end badly. And even then, I question my skills. But I don't like being stuck in one. I like different branches. I like to explore. I like to try new things. And that was one thing with being a Christian, is that I was stuck in one way. There was just one way of doing things, and I hate that. I hate that feeling because I'm a very creative person. I don't show it. I'm really shitty at it, but I like to expand, and it's got to do a lot with knowledge as well. I like to expand. I can't just be stuck in one direction. There has to be something else. So number 5, is your craft devotional or secular, and how do you incorporate your faith into your craft if you do? I would have to say it's very secular. I don't do a lot of work with deity. So yeah, I would have to say it's very secular. There are days where it can be devotional, like on full moons. I always do a ritual for a full moon goddess, but I don't pray over meals. I don't pray for the day. I'm just, like I said, I'm a really bad one. Number 6, are you a closeted witch or in the open? If so, how do your friends and family feel about your path? Now, I've mentioned this in the last witchy tag, where I'm not in the closet, but I don't actually walk around the street yelling, oh, look, I'm a witch. But my mom was not happy. My mom is a pastor at a Pentecostal church. My mom, oh God, my mom. Oh, I didn't tell my mom until I was out of the house, and that was already 4 or 5 years after I had already started practicing. And it was a very large argument. eventually we just let it go. It's not something she's happy about, but it's not something that's brought up. The only rule is that I'm not allowed to practice in her house. And out of respect for her and her beliefs, I don't. I lived, when I got divorced, I lived at her house for about a year. I stayed with her for about a year until I could find a roommate. And while I did have all of my accoutrements, I did not practice in her house. I practiced out of her house, but not in her house, for respect for her. My sister makes jokes about it. My sister doesn't give a fuck. So we make jokes about it all the time. Her and my ex-husband like to get together and make jokes. And my brother really doesn't care. It's never brought up with my brother. It's not a big deal. Religion's not a big deal for him either. It's actually really interesting how our very religious mother ended up with 3 children who just don't give a fuck. Then my extended family, like my family in Puerto Rico and throughout the United States and stuff, the ones that are still in contact with me through Facebook, they know because I post it. I'm like, look at my altar, look at how pretty it is. Look at these flowers that I'm praying over. Look at these candles. Oh, look at the smoke incense. But I'm very proud of my altars sometimes. And I post them on my Facebook page. So they do know. My family does know, but it's not a big deal. It's not something that affects them, so they don't care about it. My friends, most of my friends that I have now were my friends in high school, and most of my friends in high school were also dabbling in their religions and trying to find their religious path and how it fit with them. So most of my friends started with being pagan, or, we became friends because of that thing in common of trying to find your way in your faith. And we started together in paganism. So a lot of them, while a lot of them did not stay, some of them reverted back to Christianity, some went to Islam, I think one went to Judaism, and the rest became atheist or agnostic. But most of them don't care. They don't care. They don't care at all. They're just like, whatever. That's what you do. That's what you do. That's you. You do you, boo. All right. So shit, I lost my place. Number 7. Are you solitary or do you have a coven? I am solitary. And it's mostly because people are garbage. I don't like people. No. To be honest, I like working in groups. I do work in groups. I do have friends who host gatherings at their house, like my friend Tina, who I used to be a roommate with. She used to be a teacher of the craft, and she held gatherings at her abode. And like the last gathering that she hosted that I attended was the winter solstice, and there was a ritual and there was a feast and it was wonderful and everything. So I do like practicing with a group. I know they have Austin full moon circles here in Austin at the Methodist Church, the United Trinity Methodist Church. And yes, it's a Methodist church, and they do host pagan gatherings. They do the full moon rituals every month there, and I sometimes attend those when I have the chance. Right now, due to transportation, I can't partake. But while I do enjoy working as a group, I prefer working by myself. Number 8. What is something you wish someone had told you, or something you wish you knew when you first started? Then I don't need 10 million different things to practice. When I first started practicing, I was so upset because I was trying to learn Wicca. And in Wicca, there's all the tools. So I was upset because I didn't have the right color for the candle. I didn't have the right incense. I didn't have an athame. I didn't have a wand. I didn't have a bunch of things. And it made, for me, it felt like garbage. And it made practicing very difficult for me. And I wish somebody had told me that you can still practice witchcraft without all of these tools. You can just focus on your intent, and the magic is within you and the energy around you. If somebody had told me that, I wouldn't have been so stressed out as a teenager. I mean, I probably still would have been stressed out as a teenager. I had enough garbage going on. But as in my faith and practicing, I would have been a lot calmer with that, and I probably would have found a lot more solace in the beginning than I did later on. Number 9. What resource was the most valuable for your beginning practice? My resource was this book, The Craft by Dorothy Morrison, right? Yes, Dorothy Morrison. I got it when I was about 17, and it was the first official book that I got for myself that I had to hide in my mattress. But it was the first book that felt, I don't know, I can't describe it. It had all the information that I was looking for, that I needed at the time. As for right now, my biggest resource is everyone, is people. I like learning about people. That's the great thing about YouTube, is that you get to experience other people's experiences with them. And that's my biggest resource, because I get to learn different styles and different ways of doing things from different people. So, what was your first spell, and was it successful? Oh, Jesus. My first spell was a love spell. When I was about 15 years old. When I was 14, I didn't break up, he dumped me with a boyfriend that I was very infatuated with. I was kissed by another boy, and then of course this is like when you're really young, so I was kissed by another boy, and he was very upset that I kissed him back, and so he was like, I can't trust you anymore, and in all fairness, I got it. It wasn't on bad terms. It wasn't like, okay, you're a bitch, blah, blah, blah. It was just, I can't trust you anymore, and we need trust to be in a relationship, and I was like, okay, I get that. So I was really upset about it, because I really did care about him very much. So I had done a spell. It was a love spell, and it was a love spell to bring him back to me, to have him fall in love with me again, type of spell. Now, this is before I was iffy about dealing with free will and things like that. This is when I didn't care about it. So I had focused on him. But I was a little iffy about it. So I just said, if he's meant to be, then have it be. So in the terms of success, yes and no. No, because it did not work on him specifically. Yes, because I suddenly had a bunch of boys and girls infatuated with me. And I was like, you are not the one. What is going on here? I was just getting asked out. And of course, I'm a 14, 15-year-old girl who was just finally getting into her sexuality, and I had no idea what was going on, and it was a big giant mess, and I was just like, shit, and I just had to let it run its course. Eventually everything died down, but it was a god-awful mess. Number 11. What do you do when you feel out of touch with your crafts? When I start feeling out of touch with my crafts, and this happens often, and I want to blame my depression, and I have bipolar and schizophrenia, which I've mentioned before, and it makes practicing very difficult, and I get very angry with myself, and even very angry with my faith, because I sometimes feel like it's useless. So when I feel out of touch with my craft, I take a pause and I go, where am I feeling out of touch? What do I feel needs to be done? And most of the time is I start to read. I grab all of my books, all of my pagan books, and I start to read again. And I focus on learning and refocus or relearn everything that I've already read these books before, but I start to relearn, and maybe there's something I've missed, or repractice and try something new, something I haven't tried before, things like that. And then I do a YouTube watching spree, just binge watch a bunch of pagan videos. And when I'm feeling very out of touch, but not too, when I'm feeling out of touch, but not too out of touch, I watch a lot of witchy movies. Like just last week, I was watching Teen Witch, which was one of my favorite movies. Like, The Craft is my all-time favorite. I can literally quote the entire movie because I've seen it so many times. But my other favorite movie, the first witchy movie that I ever saw that I was allowed to see, was Teen Witch. So I usually have Top That stuck in my head when I think about it, and it was so dorky, but I loved it to pieces. And that's one of my first I love you Teen Witch type movies. Alright, where is it? Have you ever doubted your faith or ability? Have I ever doubted? I've doubted a lot of things, and I'm quite sure I've doubted my faith or ability. I get into states of doubtfulness when I'm depressed, and I question my faith, and I question my morals, and I question, my feelings about everything. I question my purpose in life, and I don't know. I question a lot of things. So yes, I have doubted my faith, and I have doubted my ability to practice my faith, mostly because of my mental illness. My mental illness is the trigger for that one. But yes, I have. Number 13. What are some grounding techniques that you find work for you? Okay, so I actually told this to Ashley in one of her comments. When I ground, I have a lot of hematite and a lot of quartz crystal, and holding them in my hand, like just sitting there and holding them and just breathing and focusing on my breathing, is the only way that I can ground. And I have really bad anxiety. So I remember being at work and being yelled at by stupid people because I worked in retail, and people feel entitled just because I'm the cashier. Anyway, so I told you, people are garbage. So I would have panic attacks, and the best way to ground was for me to separate myself from the situation. And I always had a crystal with me. I usually wore one on my necklace. I would grab hold of my quartz, and I would breathe, and I would just focus on my breathing and count. And when I finally got to 10 with each breath, I felt calm. Then I would let go and get back to what I was doing. So, number 14. What's your biggest pet peeve in the magical community? This isn't specifically in the magical community, because I've seen it in the Christian community, and I've seen it in the Muslim community, and I see it in every religious community, and that is that I am the end-all and know-all of religion, and you should follow what I say. There are some people who come off that way and retract, like when you go, oh, but these are my experiences. and retract and go, no, that's fine, I understand that. I'm just saying that this book says it like this. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but this is how I was taught, and blah, blah, blah. And they explain why they say the things that they do. The ones that get on my nerves are, this is how it's got to be, this is how it's done, and I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it type people. And that's the main pet peeve that I have in every community. It doesn't matter what community it is, it's my biggest pet peeve, where I just want to punch you in the face. What is your biggest spell disaster? Well, my biggest spell disaster was my first spell, which I explained earlier. That was just a giant mess. I will never do that ever again. What is your view on black magic? Okay, so I'm going to quote the craft on this. True magic is neither black nor white. It is both because nature is both, loving and cruel. The only good or bad is in the heart of the witch. And I first saw the craft when I was 16. And that part resonated with me so much. Because magic, I see magic as this ambiguous energy that we can tap into. It is a tool that we use. And like any tool, it can be used for whatever your intent is. Take a knife, for instance. A knife is just a knife. Let's pretend the knife is magic. A knife is just a knife. You can use it for good things. You can use it to cut up your carrots. You can use it to open a container. You can use it to open a box. You can use it to cut up more vegetables or fruits. Or cut up an orange because you don't want to peel it. It's useful. However, you can also stab somebody in the face with it. So it can be a bad thing as well. So I don't actually have any views on dark magic or black magic or anything like that. I don't believe it exists. I believe that intent exists. And what you intend, you have to be ready for any repercussions that come out of that. So if you send out positivity, you're more than likely going to get positivity back. If you send out negativity, you're going to go get negativity back. And it's not always, the repercussions aren't always immediate. It might take a while before it might come back. It comes back. But I always believe that if you don't want bad shit to happen to you, I mean, bad shit is still probably going to happen to you. That's just how life balances itself out. You need to make sure you got your shit together. Is witchcraft an everyday thing, or is it only for special occasions? Occasions, not occasions. That is not a word. I want it to be an everyday thing, but I don't have the energy for it to be an everyday thing. When you have a mental illness and you're not neurotypical, you just, you don't have enough spoons for it to be an everyday thing. And you have to recharge frequently. So I do celebrate all the special occasions. Full moons, new moons, and the 8 Sabbaths. That is when I go all out. Balls to the wall. However, there are some days where I just feel like communing with divinity, and I will light a candle and I'll meditate. And I will talk to the great unknown as if they were with me. So there are days that I do that, but it's not an everyday thing. And then, of course, all the special occasions I do it. And the next question is, do you meditate? And I've already answered that question. I do. But I answered this on Ashley's tag, comment on her video. My meditation is a little bit, it's not sitting still. I can't sit still. I have to move. And then I have bad bones and bad muscles, and I'm overweight, and I'm too heavy for my own self, and I hurt myself in JROTC when I was a teenager, so I have a bad back and a bad hip. So I can't sit still for long periods of time because my joints hurt. So I usually sit cross-legged. I light a candle. I hold a crystal in my hand. And I turn on Gregorian chants. Yes, a bunch of Catholic people singing in Latin. So I listen to Gregorian chants, and while I'm listening to Gregorian chants, I focus on the flame, and while I'm focusing on the flame, I'm tossing the crystal back and forth in my hand. And that's all I focus on. I just focus on the flame. And my hands are busy, so I don't end up getting distracted. My hands are already busy. And I listen to the chants, so then I feel a sense of calm. And that's the only way that I can meditate. I've tried meditating, just breathing exercises for long periods of time. I can't do it for long periods of time. I get distracted very easily. Something just throws me off. Guided meditations I can do because someone's talking to me and walking me through it, but straight regular meditations, no. Nope, not working. Do you practice divination? If so, what techniques? Yes. I don't do it frequently, but I do. The ones that I've done is tarot and oracle cards are my main two. And then I've done pendulum, runes, and scrying. And runes are because I'm not very good with the symbolisms. So scrying takes a lot of meditative focus. So I'm not very good with that one either. But I like the pendulum is okay because it's just pointing to what it sorts through. And the way that I do the pendulum is with the tarot. I line up a bunch of tarot cards and then I hover it over the tarot cards. It's a lot like pulling a card, but this is like just where it points to. And it's like a one card pull kind of deal. And then tarot and oracle is usually my main two because that's the ones that I can understand the best. Moon phases, planetary correspondences, day of the week, and hour. Are they irrelevant or key? I believe that they have a purpose. Now, are they absolutely necessary? Are they key? Are they absolutely necessary? No, because I believe magic works on your intent. However, can they help emphasize, not empathize, emphasize your working? Yes. Do they help? Yes. Are they necessary? Not really. Because I've done things that were supposed to be done on the new moon, and I've done them somewhere in the middle between waxing and waning, and it still worked. So, does it help? Yes. Is it necessary? No. Spell language. Do you like it simple? Do you dress it up? Is it poetry? Is it silent? It's a little of everything. I have some spells that are very simple and straightforward and to the point. I've had some invocations that are like that. I've had some invocations that are fancy and descriptive and rhyme. They're done in rhyme, and there's just a bunch of beautiful words and it's all dolled up. And then I've also absolutely said nothing, where all of the information was in my mind. It was just my thoughts. So I've done a little bit of everything, and I believe everything has its purpose. And it's just what feels right to me on that day, or in that moment. Like, do I want it fancy? Yes, I want it fancy. I'm gonna go all out. But most of the time, it's just a simple thought or a simple word. Do you keep a Book of Shadows or a grimoire? Yes, it's this baby right here. This is what it looks like. And right now, this is a new one because my original one literally fell apart. And I can give you an example by showing you the fact that there are the pages. I bought this book about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I've been transferring all of the information into it. So I have pages where I'm still stuck because uh, I'm at that point where I'm just like, I've already written this. Why am I writing this again? And I want it to look nice because I don't want it to fall apart again. So this one's a hardy, nice bound book instead of a cheap composition book. So yes, I do keep one. Do you have an altar, and is it dedicated to any specific deity, season, or anything else? No. My apartment is very, very tiny, and we used to live in a very large Victorian house. So we got rid of like 50% of our stuff. However, it still has way too much of our things. There are 6 people in this apartment, and 4 of them are children. And we are all bibliophiles, so there are books everywhere. There are toys and books everywhere. And my ex-husband is an IT professional, so there are a bunch of broken electronics everywhere and electronic parts everywhere as well. We have robots all over right now we have robots taking up a bunch of space in downstairs in the living room. So there's not a lot of room for much anything else. So while I do have all my stuff, let me show you. All my stuff is kept in here. And here, all of it. In here, and then there's a 3 in there. That's where all my stuff is kept. So, I used to have an altar, like when I lived with my roommates, I'd have a special little space just for it, and I did change it depending on the seasons. But right now, and I've lived here now 6 months, right now I don't. At my mother's, obviously, I didn't either, because she didn't want me practicing in the house, so I create altars when they're needed, but I don't have an altar for anything other than when it's needed. Question 24. Thoughts on the afterlife? Now, I've actually already answered this question, and all of my answers are on my YouTube Pagan Challenge video for the letter D, where I talk about death. And long story short is, I believe there is possibility for everything that everybody has an idea for in the afterlife. I'm still not positive on which one is the right one, and I probably never will be, because there is no absolute proof of what happens to us after we die, because we are dead. Number 25. Do you or would you teach and practice witchcraft to your children? Yes, but to a point. I have 4 children, and they are all very much aware of what my religion is. Their dad is an atheist, but he's an open-minded atheist. He understands the necessity of religion to some people and that need to explain belief and life and etc. and things like that. So he doesn't knock on it. He doesn't make fun of it. Well, he makes fun of me, but that's totally different. But he doesn't judge you for believing in religion, because that's a very personal thing. My children, I haven't discussed it actually. They're still very young. I mean, my oldest is only 12, and then I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And while I talk about certain different subjects, which, of course, like in the death video, I asked them about what are their thoughts of the afterlife. I asked them about different topics, but I don't force them to believe anything. I believe religion is a very personal practice. It's very personal, and it's all what feels right to you. So I don't force any beliefs on my children. I let them kind of work through it themselves. And if they need help, then I'll be there. If one of them decides to be Christian, we have different Bibles in different translations. I got the ones from the Jehovah's Witnesses. I got the Mormon one. I have the Book of Mormon as well. I have things on Satanism. I have things on Buddhism. I have things on Wicca. We have a very extensive religious section in our personal library. And if they have any questions, I am willing to research with them. So if one of them decides that they would like to walk the same path as me, then I'm with you. I'll help you out. And if one of them decides not to, I'm with you. I'll help you out. Do you have a totem animal? If so, what is it? I've also mentioned this in the Witchy tag, and it was a bear. And I feel most connected to a bear because I am a mom. And I will fuck you up. Alright. So what are some witch books that have influenced you? Like I said, The Craft. Teen Witch by Silver Ravenwolf was one of the other first books that was actually the very, very first book that I read that I felt kind of a little iffy about. So, but I still got it when I was old enough to buy my own books. I was 13 when I came across Teen Witch, and it was because one of my friends had it. But the one that influences me the most is this one, which I've mentioned before. It's Mrs. B's Guide to Household Witchery by Chris Bradley, and I'm actually friends with Chris Bradley, and she is an awesome person. So you need to buy this because I said so. I like it because, and I've mentioned this before, I like it because it's very useful for a household witch, for a stay-at-home witch. So if you're like a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom or just a stay-at-home parent in general, and you're not really fancy and you don't do this big thing and everything, this is perfect because it works with everyday things. It's great. It's everyday magic, spells, and recipes, and I love it. I love it. I love it, and I won't stop talking about it. Tools: handmade only, natural materials only. I only need my will, or anything works if I want to use it. Now, like I've mentioned, I wish somebody had told me that I didn't need all the tools. Now, like correspondences, are tools useful? Yes, I do believe that they enhance the magic. Are tools necessary to practice witchcraft? No. Now, if you're Wiccan and you're a specific tradition and you're doing a thing a certain way, then yes, it's kind of like a Catholic who does the rosary and needs their beads for it. It's a tool that helps you work your magic. But if you're just practicing and you're okay with not needing the tools, then it's definitely not necessary. And does it need to be natural? Nope. My first one was a wooden dowel with clay. You can only use your will, and anything works. I do believe that anything works. Do you have a magical name? Luna is my magical name. It's Luna, their cat Sky. And it's done numerologically. That's a really hard word to say. It fits with my numerology for my birthday. Which is kind of funny because Yvonne is my given name. And that name alone fits numerologically. That's a really hard word to say. But my magical name is Luna Sky. And then last questions. Your favorite season. My favorite season is spring and fall. Mostly because here in Texas, it rains. And it rains a lot. And I love the shit out of some rain. I love rain. Your favorite herb eucalyptus, because I have very bad allergies, and it's very soothing for that. Your favorite crystal? This one in particular. It's a clear quartz, but this one in particular is my favorite crystal. This is the one that I toss back and forth when I'm meditating. And the one that I hold when I'm grounding, if it's not the hematite. And I like it because it's like an all-purpose stone. It's like it's the white candle of crystals. Your favorite rune? I do not have one because I don't work well with runes. Your favorite tarot card? The Lovers. The Lovers is my favorite because it's not just about companionship, but it's also about self-love. It's loving the duality within you. And then your favorite symbol or sigil? I like flowers. And I draw them when I'm focusing, or when I'm hallucinating, actually. And what I do is I draw within the flower. I draw the flower. This is from my actual personal diary. I draw within the flower. And that's one of them. And another version is this one right here. And this helps me when I'm having bouts of schizophrenia and I'm hallucinating and I need that attachment to reality. That's the only way that I can stay focused in the now. But anyway, that is all that I have. That is the last. If you would like to partake, there will be a link down below for the spreadsheet of all the questions that Miss Ashley provided, which is very nice of her. And I hope you guys partake in this. I hope this was 40 minutes long, and Jesus Christ, I was hoping it would be shorter. But anyway, I hope you have a great day. Brightest blessings.